Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel.
Stop. My turn.
Go
Here we
for
go.
it.
Right. I'll just slap that onto the start. Good evening, Europe, or as they say in Kyiv these days, Dode hučnosti svojemu meku is Maybelline New York. Other mascaras are available. This gag cost me £9. We're starting off strong. Lads, we are talking about Ukraine's national final, always a mainstay of Eurovision, Vidbir. What do we think about this edition?
If I can start, I think this is once again a really fantastic, varied set of songs that we get from Ukraine. You'll have to excuse my cat. She's
It's a very
ever
cat-friendly
started.
selection, is what I'm
Yeah,
getting.
absolutely, yes. I mean, there's no crazy cat lady that we had in Latvia, but there's plenty for felines, canines, humans, and everyone alike. I think as there always is. So a real mix of some great artistry, some things that are slightly different. But overall, I think with this selection, if you were to listen to this selection in isolation, you would think this is Vidbir. And I think Ukraine have nailed it once again with their shortlist.
Yeah, I agree that there's like a little bit of variety, there's a little bit of everything. However, at the same time, I feel it's like some songs are in here just for the sake of variety and not because they actually are, let's say, that representative or that like competition worthy in a way, if I can say it like that. But overall, like it's a decent enough mix of songs, and it's going to be interesting to see like how all of that is going to sound and look live.
I have to agree with all of what was said before because I do believe that diversity is something which is a characteristic of Vidbir in general. And also the selection of wildcard entries was as well quite diverse. And I would be missing one song quite much in the final lineup, but it is as it is. And we're having another bunch of 10 interesting songs which we will be discussing up.
Honestly, it's nice that you mentioned the wild card bunch, Nika, because I was actually going back through the scores that I gave the wild cards, and I think the average was actually slightly higher than the 10 in this show. And like, that's probably just because those maybe cater to my music taste a bit more. But like, what you have to applaud Ukraine for is just like the sheer variety in a short amount of songs. And I think the fact that they are able to produce this world-class show while their country's literally at war, like, they are consistently one of the best producers. Like last year, the what they managed to produce on the budget they had was incredible. And like the previous year when they had it in a literal metro station. So I think all of these performances are going to be massively elevated live, and I'm really looking forward to seeing which ones stand out. And without any further ado, we're actually going to talk about the first song. It's Krylata and Stay True. Nico.
And speaking of the songs which are maybe less deserving than the ones from the wild card, I do believe this is the one, unfortunately, sorry to say it, because as much as I like the mixture of English and Ukrainian and also in any kind of song to mix two languages and much more, uh, here it just doesn't bring me all the vibes and all the energy, and the lyrics in English are quite basic, and also the emotions which the song wanted to develop or wanted to see in the listener, I kind of don't get it what it is. So as much as I would like to have some different opinion about it in general, I just don't have much to say about it at all.
Starting negative, I see. And like also same here. I just felt like so uninspired when I was listening to this song. And I felt that like both her and the composers, they just tried to add too many things, as many things as possible into this song, and just made a mess. And also like in one part, I also felt that Krylata is trying to be her own Alyona Alyona in her own song, and it just didn't really work for me. The song it's well produced, but it's still a mess because it's like a bit of dubstep, a bit of strings, a bit of rap, a bit of emotion, a bit of high notes. Like choose what you want to do and go for it. Don't try like seven different things and just like step in it, put your foot in, and stay there. So just like go all the way. Yeah, this one was just not for me. I'm sorry.
How many genres do you want? Yes.
Yes, basically, yeah.
Yeah. I think the standout for me in this song is just the lyric, "Be ready for any surprise, surprise," because it just makes me think of Cilla Black going, "Surprise, surprise." Sure, yeah. I think any Brit listening to will probably relate to. So, yeah, let's score this. I'm going to kick off with Ervin.
4 for me.
Okay, Joe S.
So I quite like this. I gave it a 7.
Nico.
A 4 from me.
And I'm going to give it a 6, which means Krylata gets 21. Okay, on to song number 2. A big fan favourite from Masha Kondratenko. This is No Time to Cry. So, other Joe, number 2.
Yeah, so I mean, I can see exactly why this is a fan favorite, and this is one of those songs that for me is so archetypically Vidbir when you listen to it in terms of the artistry that she's bringing to the song and just the way that the song kind of sort of flows and builds throughout. For me, the overarching kind of sort of sense I get when I listen to this is I can just see this as a potential winner and as a potential Ukrainian representative in Basel because it just almost kind of sort of fits naturally in the kind of sort of the chronology of Ukrainian entries, which are all kind of sort of top tier as one of the real powerhouses at Eurovision. That it's got impact, it's got great vocals, a really good kind of sort of structure and build to it. The one thing that's missing for me at the moment is the unknown of just how this might look actually when it comes to be staged, because I think there's an awful lot that they can do with this to really elevate it, to really have impact. I think it's got a strong chorus. I think it's got all of the ingredients that you need to be successful. And I think I fully understand why this is one of the fan favorites.
I don't. Honestly, this one took me by surprise. When I looked at the little slidey bar and this came up like miles ahead of the rest, I was just thinking to myself, okay, it's not really for me. I'm sorry to say. I think it's a brilliant genre of song, but I think this genre of song has been perhaps better represented at Eurovision in the past by, the likes of, well, Tina Karol, Jamala, all of the great Ukrainians. I just don't really see this up there. The composition kind of leaves me feeling a bit cold, and I don't know really why. The sort of the heavy use of cursive English, the limited backing track, it kind of jars with me. Sinister children singing in the background, which always gives me the creeps a little bit. I have to give it to her that there are some emotionally charged lyrics in there, and her relationship with her childhood self. I'll give her that. And this has like most of the songs in the selection, some very good staging potential. I think there's a part of me that does think, like Ervin thought about the first one, that this is kind of an attempt to sort of relive that sort of floaty, ethereal success that Aliona and Jerry Heil had with that sort of slightly operatic chorus. And I just think there are better examples of this. So, what do we all think? I'm going to kick off the scoring this time with Mr. Joe Sansom.
So for me, it's a 9.
Nico?
I love this mixture of languages, and it is a way how you can do it. I mean, when I was referring to the previous song, I prefer this one, and I like also the spooky and creepy vibe which it brings. So it's a 7 for me.
Ervin, what are you giving this?
For me, it's an 8.
And sorry guys, I'm the party pooper. I'm giving this a 5. Still holding out some hope for some good staging, it's always a possibility. But for now, Masha Kondratenko, you've got 29. And with that, we move on to song number 3, which is Molodi with My Sea.
So this is actually a pretty decent radio song, and I can imagine this song like being played literally anywhere in the radios. But like the question here is how much you would actually pay attention to the song that's actually being played, and like whether you'd be interested in like finding out who sings it or not, and like whether you would, let's say, Shazam it or not. I don't know. The lead singer here has like a very, very nice, very clean, very clear vocal, and this I feel suits the song like really well, which also adds to its radio friendliness, in my opinion. And I also love the way that like he plays around with his vocals, especially in the chorus part. It's sort of catchy. It is very well put together. And in my opinion, like this is one of the better songs in this lineup. But I just worry like whether this is going to be memorable enough to really stand out or not.
Yeah, for me, I think I share some of those concerns that it's got a nice enough melody as the song kind of sort of goes through, but it doesn't really have impact for me in a way. I mean, particularly when you listen to it, if you listen to it just standalone, yes, it comes across as a really kind of sort of nice radio song that you could listen to and completely unoffended by. It's reasonably nice. But then when you listen to it within the context of it being one of the 10 entries, and if you listen to it as part of the playlist of the 10, it's one that really struggles, I think, to really punch through. It really kind of sort of lacks impact. I want it to just have a bit more oomph. It almost has kind of a bit of a kind of sort of almost a lackluster, lazy kind of sort of vocal, as nice as it is, that just for me it just doesn't hit home.
You could say it's all leather jacket and no knickers, if their album cover is anything to go by. Right. Shall we score this? Let's start with Nico.
I'd give it a 6.
Okay. Ervin?
Yeah, I always laughed whenever I was watching Odal in the past, and like when the juries started saying that like this is a very strong 7 or a very strong 6, etc. But for me, this is a very strong 6.
I feel like a Euro song. Like, oh, it reminded me of Adele. It's the chorus was very piratey. Joe, what are we giving this?
But for me, this is a disappointing 3.
I am giving it a disappointing 4. Yeah, this was a bit X Factor for me, but on the plus side, Anton Chilibi co-wrote Teresa Maria, so if it has any percentage of what they did on the stage with that song, maybe it could do well. But for now, Molodi are at the bottom of our rankings with 19, and the bottom of the sea, for that matter. This one should be fun. Let's talk about future culture and waste my time.
Well, I mean, speaking of it, I definitely feel after listening to 3 minutes of this song like I wasted my time to listen a song which just didn't go anywhere. I mean, I admire the energy and I admire the fact that they are unapologetically themselves and they're doing it. And as like now thinking of the song as well, it's literally like a song which you gather your friends with and you kind of chill, enjoy, and just don't consider much what's going around in the world. You're there, you're enjoying the moment, enjoying life, and that's it. And you're, I don't know, just drinking and chilling and whatever you're doing, and you're doing it in your own world, in your own universe, and you don't mind anything happening around. So if I consider it from that part, I can rate it in one way, but if I do consider it song wise and lyric wise and anything else, then not that impressed and not much happening on that field for me.
Honestly, you mentioned drinking and celebrating. That sounds like a great night out. Like, I don't see anything wrong with that. I'm kind of vibing with this. It kind of has the vibe of a soul band that sort of busks on the tube. Like, it feels. I always find it very endearing when a song sounds homemade. Like the groove is fairly nice. You know, there's sort of the cosmic keyboard filter in the middle. Like if you've ever heard like Tom Cardy's music, like he uses this pass quite a bit, and I kind of vibe with that. The chorus, like very specifically, makes me think of a very early Van Morrison song called "Here Comes the Night" that like my parents used to play me as a kid. That had a very sort of like repetitive "Here comes the night," doom 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 doom, and like just that sort of on a loop. Like I kind of get that from the chorus, but in a more sort of soul setting. I think the lyrics do detract a little bit, like blanket forks and morning tea. Like, what are we talking about? We're out drinking. We're on a street corner. You know, that was a personal highlight. Some nice imagery there. I like the thought of sinking deeper into the couch, which we're probably going to do at the end of this because we're recording at, I think, past midnight Central European
Yeah.
time. You've got a flight in about an hour, Joe, so I'm going to stop yabbering and say this is quite different for Vidbir. It's probably not a winner, but like Slavic English last year, it's a nice break from the relative polish that we have elsewhere. And with that, we're going to kick off the scoring. I'm going to kick off the scoring with a solid 6. Ervin.
I have my AirPods on when I'm walking or like taking the tube. So for me, this is a 3.
Joe.
For me, it's a 4.
And Nico.
It's a 2 for me.
Oh dear, we're not like it really did waste your time there. That's 15. That's probably one of our lowest scores of the season. Sorry, Future Culture. Hope you're not watching. Um, Now for something completely different. This is, I think, the reason this video was put together at such short notice. DK Energetic with Sill. No prizes for guessing who's going to be talking about this one.
Yeah, so if I can kick off with this one, because I mean, I have to say this for me over the course of this national final season. I know there's still lots of songs that we haven't heard from other selections yet, but up to this point in time, this is my absolute song of the year. From the very first moment that the songs dropped and I, loaded this one up for the first time, it just hit me straight away when those initial synths come in the first couple of seconds, and it's like, yes, this is the sort of thing that I listen to quite a lot. This sort of dark kind of sort of synth wave music. I listen to quite a lot outside of Eurovision, and it's quite unusual for me to then experience a song like this in a Eurovision context. And it's interesting what Ervin was saying at the very beginning, that it feels like within this selection that you've got songs that are in there to make sure that we've got that kind of sort of variety of genre, even if they might not necessarily be competitive on a Eurovision stage or seen as necessarily viable Eurovision entries for Basel. And this might be one of those that it's the sort of thing that to me, I like to think this is the sort of thing that the cool kids will like, and I'm one of the cool. But it could be quite niche.
You're 46.
I know. But it could be quite kind of sort of niche in terms of its appeal. But for me, I've grown up with this kind of music. I mean, I come from a town in England called Basildon, that's most famous for Depeche Mode.
Tick.
So growing up with kind of sort of Depeche Mode and this sort of thing through kind of sort of the 80s and 90s, this is the sort of thing that just runs through my veins. And hearing such a really good example with just the synth that just drags you right into the song, and I just absolutely love it. I just think it just draws me in. I just kind of want to know more and want to listen more. Will it be competitive? Quite possibly not, I don't think. Am I glad it's here? Absolutely, because it's opened up my ears to a new band. I've been able to kind of sort of delve right into their back catalogue, and I've had them on repeat for the last few weeks at the expense of lots of other national final songs that I've not even really got around to yet, because sometimes when you really connect with a song, it just goes on repeat and repeat and repeat. And that's where I've been with this masterpiece.
And just to add additional value, it's sung in Ukrainian, which is another way how you can interpret a song, which is like dark and synth and everything. So yeah, I mean, definitely it's a song which I got hooked on when I started listening to it. I was very intrigued when where will it go? And it kind of reminded me, I mean, I was not planning to seem like a copy of what Joe is saying, but for me, it kind of got the feeling that I'm listening to a Yugoslavian band, EKV, Katarina Velika. So I kind of got that moment and those vibes, and also I I'm enjoying those kind of notes, and the lyrics are also quite interesting, and the darkness which it brings, and the mystery, and also the fact that it makes me feel like I was watching sort of a movie while listening to the song, and it kind of deserves to be part of a movie soundtrack as well. It kind of gave me that vibe. Is all of what I enjoy in the song as well. And also, as I mentioned, the Ukrainian language is just spicing it up. So it's making it more special and more unique. And I do have to agree that it's one of the, at least for me, the best songs in the national final, even though I'm aware that not all of the people who are watching Vidbir would be agreeing with me, and it's not a song for everyone, but I am applauding for the fact that they stayed authentically themselves, and they presented their music shared with the rest of the world, and I found a band and a song which I can enjoy in the diverse national final as Vidbir is.
Praise indeed. Can DK Energetic or Dika Energetic? Sorry, sorry to all the Ukrainians watching. Can they dethrone our current leader? Let's find out. Joe, what are you scoring this? Need I ask?
For me, it's absolutely 100% a 10.
Indeed. Nico.
It's an 8 from me.
Ervin?
I think we were listening to different songs. For me, this is a 4.
I thought I was listening to something from 1987, and unfortunately, I didn't find that as endearing. So I'm going to give this a 5. But I'm very glad that Joe has found a new band and go Basildon. And with that, Dika Energetic has 27, and that puts them in second place. It was going so well. No. Right. Next up, it is Fiïnka with Cultura, who won the wildcard vote. And I believe it's me who's going to kick this off. So I kind of knew this would win the wild card like as soon as I heard it. It is very, there is literally, it's literally in the lyrics, be proud of your culture. There is more culture in this song than an Activia yogurt, as the title suggests. She might as well be singing this in a wooden trailer surrounded by sunflowers with like a load of like traditional trumpets and everything, which, I would love to see on the stage. I'm sure she's got something even wackier planned, and I'm looking forward to that. There's clever rhymes, there's references to like some really sort of niche components of Ukrainian culture that the sort of the researcher in me loved sort of looking up, like the writer Osip Yuri Fedkovich, one for the kids there. Traditional dress, traditional food. It's Slavic girls if you were sort of taking it to like a Tate Modern exhibition, in my opinion. I think we know she can perform because of Dove Bush in 2023, which again was a big fan favorite. And I think one of the enduring things about this song is that like even after the wildcard vote, it's not sort of shifted down fans' ranks. This is still like really near the top of a lot of people's like uh fan ranks and everything. So this has high potential. I have trust in her. Yeah, lot of culture. Like it.
This is one of the times when I disagree with the fans, one of the many times when I disagree with the fans,
It's your
because
favorite thing to do, Ervin.
apparently it's a hobby. Um, yeah, I can say that I can come up with a reason why this was not like one of the original entries. I respect it for being different and for having this like mix of like something ethnic and like a modern kind of like electronic sound. But at the same time, like I think that not all songs are good that have this mix, at least to me. This one definitely isn't. She's playing around with her vocals way too much for my liking, and it's very off-putting for me. The chorus of it, even though it's like repetitive, it still fails to make it memorable. The flute that they added towards the end of the song is also a little bit too much for my ears, and like I'm absolutely sure that like for her performance, she's gonna go out all ethnic, and she should do that absolutely. But song-wise, this is just not something that I would like and not something that I would listen to.
Well, 1 out of 2 ain't bad. Let's score it. Joe, we're going to start with you.
For me, it's a good song. This is a 9.
Okay. Nico,
It's a 5 for me.
Ervin.
4.
I'm going to give this a glowing 9. And that gives Fiïnka 27. So
It's
not
a
bad.
tie.
It's a tie, yeah. That's what happens when you get people with differing opinions scoring the same song. Nobody's safe from the dance off. Right, next up. This will be an interesting one as well. It is Vlad Sheryf. Wildly different song to the name suggests. It's Wind of Change.
Now, this was the first song that I heard from the Ukrainian selection as like when I was listening to them, I started by the running order. And like halfway through the song, I thought to myself, like, damn, like this is going to be a great selection if like this is how we start the show.
Damn.
Um,
Never heard you say that before.
what?
It's just the way you said damn.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
This song is nothing that like we haven't heard before, but I feel that Vlad is bringing like so much power to it with his voice that like really makes a big impression. However, I feel at the same time that like he's going to be up against like some very heavy hitters in this selection. So I do hope that like he comes up with like some sort of like a brilliant staging that like makes him really stand out from the rest of the competition. Otherwise, I think that like he's going to be lost and forgotten by like come song 5. But overall, like this is not a bad song like whatsoever, and in my opinion, like this is one of the better ones in the competition.
And I'll come in with the contrast, although I shan't say too much um, about this song.
Of course.
But for me,
He's watching, Joe.
I know. I do think for me this is the weaker song that's in the selection. But I think a lot of that comes down to personal taste and the sort of thing that I would listen to versus the thing that I would absolutely try and stay away from, which is this kind of song that for me doesn't really go anywhere. And I kind of sort of struggle with the vocal a little bit in the sense that it's that sort of style of kind of sort of vulnerable male vocals that is quite popular and it is, you know, it's ubiquitous on radio and what have you. But for me, it just comes across as a little bit whiny and I just can't warm to it. And I just find myself just a bit kind of sort of standoffish with it. I just cannot connect with it at all. I'll stop short of making a joke to say that the sheriff needs arresting for crimes against music. But for me, this is not a song that I will listen to again after Vidbir has concluded, unless in which case I'll be forced to. I appreciate some people will like this. It will have its fans, but you know, good for them.
I think that Elaine disagrees with you because like she just came into the shot at some point with like a shocked face, looked at you, and then just like left.
She looked right down the lens of the camera. It's brilliant. Yeah, we love Elaine. I was just going to say that there's a phrase that our good friend and colleague Danny Lynch would use to describe this song that I'm absolutely not going to repeat on the podcast. But let's just get on and score this. I think I will kick things off this time. It's a 4. It's not for me. It's like a Westlife reject song, but he has a nice voice. Ervin.
7.
Joe.
So I think it's a Westlife song when he doesn't have a particularly nice voice for me. It's a 3.
Nico?
For this Disney movie soundtrack song, I'm giving a 6.
So that gives Vlad Sheryf 20 points, and to the bemusement of a few people watching, he's not even in second to last. So we now move on to Abiye with Dim. And I'm going to kick things off with this one. I always look for like stats and quirks in Eurovision because I am that sort of nerd. I couldn't think of another occasion where the same country has sent the same name of song at subsequent contests at Junior and Eurovision. So this winning in Vidbir would certainly have its place in history. I think this one probably has the biggest staging potential of all the songs. Like, I mean, there is enough jaw heart and Ruslana horns and drums and like sort of danceable beat with rap segments that you can imagine how the cameras are rapidly going to cut in this one, which, you know, it's going to keep the punters happy. Again, like a lot of the songs in this, there's a fantastic melding of traditional Ukrainian sounds with the sort of the modern pop beats, especially when we get into the final chorus and it just absolutely lets loose. It's called Home, but it's that's kind of a metaphor here for a specific kind of home within a woman. You can make your own conclusions about that. It's kind of feminist like Rigoberta Bandini might be, but it kind of means something like in the context of the war as well. A line that I pulled out here, our girls have 40 shirts, which, you know, probably has a lot of deeper meaning, but just makes me think of Joey Tribbiani wearing 7 sweaters for some reason. I didn't notice. These are relative unknowns as well. So, like, I mean, these guys have been selected because of the song. You know, they've not done Vidbir before, and a lot of people are going to discover Abiye because of this. And yeah, all the best to her, and best of luck on stage.
Yeah, and I'd agree with a lot of that. But for me, I suppose this one is if I've gone from if you'll have to excuse my cat. So from the highs of my song of the year to Vlad that we've just spoken about, this one is very much kind of sort of in the middle for me. I perfectly enjoy it, and if I'm listening to this just in isolation again, it's one that I can actually, you know, really enjoy. But actually, when I listen to it as part of the playlist, it's one that perhaps just kind of sort of fades into the background a little bit. It's perfectly great, but I just think it just needs a little bit more intensity, or just something that will really kind of sort of bring you in with a hook, or and that might be something that they can do with the visuals, because you know, when this is staged, if they're able to elevate it in some way to really kind of sort of bring it home, This could be really interesting to see. So it's one that I'm looking forward to seeing performed live. For the moment, I think it could go either way for me. But for the moment, I've kind of sort of hedging my bets a little bit on it in the middle.
Okay, well, with that, let's score Abiye. Let's kick off with Joe.
So yeah, absolutely, it's a 5 for me. Could go up, could go down. But
The
really
most
intrigued.
enthusiastic 5 I've ever heard. Nico.
For this song, which is a delight for all of the language lovers and nerds, I give a 7.
Ervin.
I mean, this is going to be a 6.
And for me, this is another strong 9, second of the night. And that means that Abiye is on 27, and we now have a three-way tie. So
I was when you were talking about like junior Eurovision entry, like I checked and like there was not a single one from Ukraine that was called Home or Dim, something like that.
oh, what? The one this year was called Dim.
Hear me now.
Right.
They maybe changed it.
We will include this fact checking in here just to, make sure that
Yeah.
because people will comment that otherwise, and I'll look like a mug either way, but I wasn't actually in Eurovision this year. So that is the kind of thing that people are going to get hung up on. We are in the Eurofan community. And with that, let's keep talking about Eurovision songs, shall we?
And let's go to the song number 9.
Anyway, back to the racing. It's Khayat next. Khayat?
Khayat, I think.
Khayat. Thank you. So it's Khayat with Honor.
I was really, really excited to see Khayat back in Vidbir as his song from, I think it was 2020, Call for Love. Like, it's a song that I still have in my playlist and that I still listen to. And I believe that it's partly because of this, like, why I was so disappointed. Probably because, like, my expectations were just, like, so high. And like in this particular song, once again, like he plays a lot around with the instrumental parts of the song, and like I'm sure that like once again he's gonna have like a full-on choreography, especially for those parts. But like overall for me, the song is still sort of like a letdown. Like it doesn't have the strength, it doesn't have the catchiness, it doesn't even have like the flow that Call for Love had. And in case that like this actually gets to go to Eurovision, like obviously a regular viewer is not going to have any idea about like any of his previous songs, or that like he competed a couple of years ago with Call for Love, so he's not going to have anything to compare this to. But regardless of that, I do think that like this song is quite weak. Okay, maybe not weak, but average, let's say. I do hope that like he's going to be back once again in Vidbir in the coming years, but in that case, I hope that like he comes back with something as strong as Call for Love, if not even stronger than that.
I mean, it's always the destiny of performers who are returning after a kinda or big success, which they are making with the previous entry. And for me, I do think that this one showcases the diversity which Khayat has. And I appreciate the fact that the song is offering us something different than what we already heard. But I do want to hope that the performance will uplift the song as also the previous one was very uplifted with the performance itself, and hope for the best as the performance could definitely change a lot about the song, because I do like it and I do like the energy the song brings, and the fact that it's sung half in Ukrainian, half in English is also giving parts which are good, and I am excited for it to be performed at the stage of Vidbir. So
Honestly, I think this one was just about Luke Black adjacent enough that I was kind of obsessed with it on my first listen, and then a little bit of the sheen came off on my second. Like, I like the way he says, "Now slow down the tempo." Like, I'll give him that.
Is that why I
Right.
didn't like it then?
Now let's do the scoring. We're going to kick off with Nico.
I'm giving it a 7.
Ervin?
Sorry, Khayat, it's only a 5.
It's not weak, but average. Joe S?
So while I agree this isn't Call for Love, but for me it's still a solid 7.
I'm going to give this an 8. And with that, we are on to our, oh, by the way, four-way tie, 27 again. We are so consistently inconsistent. This is brilliant. And with that, let's go on to our final song, the last one that can knock Masha Kondratenko off the top of the leaderboard. It is Ziferblat with Bird of Prey.
And the runner-ups are back here again, hoping for a good chance and even for a win. But I don't think that this is the better effort than the previous song, and I'm kind of not sold into it because I expected a bit better song from them, which is something I happened to say before. The suffering of the artists who are returning at the national selection and already present a good song or present something which is interesting and which catches the eye of the audience can be either a blessing or a curse. And in this case, for me, it's a curse. So I do like some parts of the song, but anyhow, it's because it's Ziferblat. But I'm not completely sold of it. I would prefer that it grows into something bigger and touches my heart more than it already is.
And because one British praise of music that sounds vaguely British wasn't enough in one video, you're about to get a second one because I absolutely love this one because it sounds a bit like the Beatles, and a bit of Slade, and a bit of Quo. No, but seriously, like I didn't really rate these guys last year. I thought they looked a bit like awkward on stage. They looked a bit fairly possessed. Siblings, you know how I get about siblings in the same band, the Leszczynski brothers, they're clearly very talented musicians, but it must be a nightmare to work with your brother every day. Honestly, these guys launched onto our radar with Place I Call Home, which, again, I didn't really get. I absolutely get this one down to a T. It's just such a well composed piece of music. It's slightly more metaphorical than a lot of the other songs. Like I like the play on words with pray and pray, like which you could forgive them for it being like English being their second language, but like it does actually mean something. This is about freedom. It's about hope for a brighter future. Like the UK jury is definitely going to give this 12. These guys would have been loved in Liverpool. This is the one in the selection that I just keep going back to, like from the calls in the introduction, like it hits you instantly. You're back home and you're watching like an advert for people trying to consolidate their debts when you're off sick from school or something. It's sort of giving that sort of vibe. You're hooked by that. Then there's chanting in Ukrainian, which like, yeah, we're going for this. And then that sort of weird dissonant final chorus that just like sort of grounds everything. It's just very well put together. It's very different for Ukraine. They rarely ever send men, let alone men with guitars. Like, I would be very happy to see this go to Eurovision for Ukraine. And I think they do really well. I think like they sort of fit into that niche of like male bands that always qualify and always do fairly decent in the final. You can put Joker out in that, you can put the Black Mamba in that. It's a different vibe. And I think I go for this one. And with that, let's score it. Ervin, let's kick off with the Rock Boy.
Yeah, the Rock Boy is going to give this one a 6.
Naughty Rock Boy. Joe.
I'm with you, Joe. So I really like this. It's an 8 from me.
Spot the fellow Brit. Nico.
I'm giving it a 5.
I'm going to give this another very solid 9. Slava Ziferblat. And with that, they get 28 and they're into second place just behind Masha Kondratenko. That's what we think in terms of our own personal opinions on the songs. But of course, we need to talk about who we're most excited to see on stage. And really, this show gives us all sorts of possibilities. So, Nico, who are you excited to see at Vidbir?
As I said, I'm very excited for the performance of Khayat because I do believe that the performances which he delivers are always interesting to watch. And also an honorable mention for the song which I like the most from Vidbir 2025, Thal. So it's like Deka Enerhetyk. I think it's gonna be very, very nice to see the performance of it as well because I believe that it will take me to some interesting places.
I don't think I want to go to those places. I'm sorry. The one that I'm most looking forward to seeing live is by far Masha Kondratenko, because in my opinion, she has the best song in this competition. And apart from her, the other one that I'll be looking out for is most probably Khayat, because I expect an amazing performance and I hope that like it improves a little bit my impression, like my overall impression on the song as well.
Yeah, for me, looking forward to seeing pretty much most, if not all of them, because I think within this selection, everything can change, I think, when these are visually presented as well. Obviously, my runaway favorite, DK Enerhetyk, will be top of my kind of sort of watch list, I'm sure. But also Ziferblat. Really intrigued to see how that comes across in the live final.
I'm all about my voice Ziferblat as well. What those brothers have got up their sleeves this time. I'm also going to give a shout out to DK Energetic. Like, it's certainly a niche sound, so whatever they can bring to their performance will probably be appreciated. I'm also going to put in a word for Future Culture. I did say that they're a bit like a metro station band, so maybe they can take some of that aesthetic into their live performance, and we just get we just hop on a journey on the Kyiv metro. I'd be looking forward to that. And Fiïnka, of course, how much Kultura can she get on that stage? Let's wait and see. Thank you so much, guys, for covering this year's Vidbir with me at 1 a.m. or whatever the time is now. If you agree or disagree with us, then please tell us how much you agree or disagree with us in the comments below, and feel free to fact check all of us on everything we've said. Go and watch all of our national final interviews. We've got more review videos coming out. We've got polls over on our website. We've got social media channels where we've got some interesting exclusive content over there to get you through the Eurovision season. So, thanks for sticking around. If you have stuck around to the end, please go and do something more productive. And we will see you on the next video. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.